and included a graph of law schools chasing medians around 150 and 160.
And that does seem like crazy. That seems wild.
But is it irrational? Because when you put out your marketing materials and you say, hey, our median LSAT is 160, you know that lands better than 159.
Hello and welcome to episode 536 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. I'm Nathan Fox. With me is Ben Olson. We're the co-founders of lsatdemon.com and the LSAT Demon Daily podcast. We've got an email from a listener here named Matthias saying, hey, should I retake to catch the new medians?
I have two quick questions. One, I followed your advice and had a 174 and the rest of my materials ready by September. That was the middle of my PT range and above the median at my top choice school, so I stopped testing. Now their median has risen to 175. Should I consider retaking in January? How would a January test impact my current applications?
Shoot, you want to read the second question as well?
Sure. Two, are letters of continued interest worth sending at this stage? I've seen people on Reddit get accepted to schools I applied to with lower stats and later applications. I've also seen applicants who applied when I did get accepted with similar numbers. Is this normal? How do you recommend I handle this?
There's a producer's note here, which might give some context. It says that WashU is the only school that has had their median rise to a 175 for 2025. And Ben, do we have a sense where this information comes from? I see that the source that Jacob has cited here is from a spreadsheet on the internet. Looks like it's maintained by Spivey. Where does this data, do you think, come from? Because we don't have access to the new 509 reports yet.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe they're reporting on their website and he's just manually tracking that? Because although they're not required to disclose it through the 509 until that itself is disclosed, maybe they're voluntarily revealing this information, especially if it's going up, right? If their medians are going up, they're probably eager to announce that.
Interesting. So it does look like, just scanning down, there's a column for change in median LSAT. I don't see any schools where the change in the median LSAT went down. I only see positive changes to median LSAT. And wait, now Jacob said that WashU was the only school that had median go up?
Not the only one that had median go up, only one that had it go up to 175 exactly.
To a 175 exactly. I see. But the medians are up, half the schools are at 0 and half the schools have medians that are up by 1 or 2 points.
Yeah.
At least at the top of the list here.
And
even scanning all the way down. Well, because this is early reports, I suppose if your median had gone down, you don't mention it. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, so do we think Matthias should retake a 174? Matthias has already applied, obviously.
Yeah, I would. I mean, worst case scenario, the retake results in a lower score, which has no impact on his applications.
Okay.
But if he gets the same score or higher, that is a perfect opportunity to reconnect with these schools and say, hey, I had a 174. Now I have a 175, or hey, maybe a 177 or whatever, and he ends up getting. Hello, I would like to keep talking about my application. That is definitely something that would catch their attention and is worthy of writing a letter.
I also don't see any reason why you wouldn't reach out to these schools. If any school that you're genuinely interested in, why wouldn't you reach out and say, hey, I applied in September, just wondering if you have all my materials in order.
Yeah, is there something you're missing? Very
let
friendly.
me know if you have any questions. By the way, Yeah, I mean, well, if you were registered for the January test, you could say something like, although I don't know that you'd really even want to say that if you're already above their medians.
Yeah, no, you don't need to. These emails don't need to be such a big deal.
Yeah,
First
right.
one is just, hey, I applied. I just want to make sure you have all my applications because I haven't all my materials because I haven't heard from you. And then second email, if you still haven't heard from them or you haven't heard from them sufficiently, follow up when you get your score back. Especially if, well, only if it's higher.
Sounds good.
Cool. This next email is from Anonymous Joe. Okay. The subject is question about LSAC, no GPA applicants.
Hello, Demon Team. My name is Anonymous Joe. Okay. My target start date is fall 2027, so I'm planning to study for about 8 months and take the LSAT in July of 2026. Already, I'm like, I don't love that plan, Joe. Ben, do you want to offer Joe a better timeline?
Yeah. So first, Joe, you're assuming that it's going to take you 8 months to prepare for the LSAT and get a score
Yeah,
that you're happy with. It could take 3 months. It could take 2 months. It could take a year. You just don't know. And the problem here is that by assuming that it's going to take you 8 months, you're kind of setting yourself up to just drag this out. And if you end up taking it in July and you plan to apply that fall, then okay, if July doesn't go as well as you would have liked, you're going to need to take it in August, maybe
yeah,
September. You're kind of pushing yourself beyond the application opening timeframe.
yeah. Stop deciding when you're going to take the test and instead start practicing. As soon as you start seeing scores that you're happy with, then think about taking the test. So that's tip 1. Tip 2, don't ever plan on taking it once. Plan on always taking it twice so that every time you're taking it, it's a practice test for the next one. That's the way that we can diffuse the anxiety bomb that goes off for many test takers on the day of the official test. They don't treat the official test as if it's just another practice test. They can't because they have declared that this is their one and only official test. So when you say, I want to take it in July, what that means is you want to take it in July and August and September and however many other times, up to 5. I was looking at our list of teachers, Ben. We have several teachers who took the test 5 or more times
Wow.
on our staff. And those are people who ended up with 99th percentile scores.
Mm-hmm.
So, to think about a typical applicant just declaring that they're going to take it once, it's like you're putting yourself in a bind right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Joe continues. My question is about my undergraduate GPA, or rather, the lack of one. I have a non-traditional academic history. I completed 1 semester at a U.S. community college, then several years studying in Europe, and finished roughly 75% of my degree abroad before transferring those credits to WGU. Because WGU is pass-fail and I only have 12 graded US/Canadian credits, LSAC will list my UGPA as NA. Here's what I'm trying to understand. How does having no GPA affect my chances at competitive law schools, especially T30s? For context, my European university GPA was around a 2.5, which I assumed would be a huge disadvantage, but since LSAC won't compute it into my UGPA, it won't impact schools' medians at all. I've noticed on ABA 509 reports that most T30 schools admit around 10 to 20 students each year who also have UGPA listed as NA, so I'm clearly not the only one in this category. My current thinking is if I score above the school's LSAT median, I help them in the only numerical stat that applies to me. And since my GPA is not included in their calculations, I neither raise nor lower the GPA median, which makes it almost like I show up right at their GPA median by default. So I went from assuming I'd be filtered out of T30 schools because of my low European GPA to wondering whether I might actually be competitive now that it won't affect their reported numbers. How do law schools evaluate applicants with UGPA NA? And how much does this impact admissions chances at higher ranked schools? Thanks for all the great content. I'd love to hear it discussed on the show. Anonymous Joe. We do have a note down here. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to read that?
Sure. So again, producer's notes. Thank you, Jacob. T14 varied quite a bit in the number of enrollees they had without GPAs. WashU was high with 12%. Northwestern and Columbia also had 10 and 9%. 5 schools had 1 or fewer students without GPAs. So those were UVA, Penn, Michigan, UCLA, and Vanderbilt. Everybody else was somewhere in the middle. So it's not super common. But yeah, I mean, that adds up to 28 students at WashU and 23 students at Northwestern and 35 students at Columbia. I didn't realize Columbia was so big. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a speculation here. One thing we know about WashU is that WashU is very motivated to play this stats game, so much so that they are willing to accept low GPAs as long as you have a high LSAT above their median, and vice versa. They're willing to accept low LSAT scores as long as you have a high GPA above their median, at or above their median. So, and notice that they have 12% of these non-GPAs. So I suspect they're an example of a school that is strictly playing the numbers game, or 95% primarily motivated by numbers.
They're keenly interested in manipulating their medians. And we're going to get to this. By the way, we have an item later on the agenda where we're going to discuss this at length, or not at length, but we're going to discuss it a little bit more. How absurd it is that schools would be manipulating their medians in this way. So stay tuned, but go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So I suspect that it's been ingrained into the culture of admissions folks at WashU to say, ignore the noise, focus on the numbers. I could see other schools, though, where they have different cultures, that they're primarily focused on the numbers, but they're also like, whoa, what's going on with the no GPA? Or, oh, I see you didn't get a GPA from LSAC, but on your transcript, you have a 2.5. That concerns me. I'm worried about your success here, and it may have some impact.
I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of schools that are going to be manipulating the numbers, especially in the top, but not top of the top realm. Right? Like, who knows what's going on at the big 3, but at many, many other schools. And who are the 3 again? The main 3 here that have the most no GPA enrollees? Shocker. It's WashU, Northwestern, and Columbia. So it's like, schools ranked 6 through 14. And they're, if you can bump up the median LSAT by 1, you go for it.
Yeah.
So
even if it's at the cost of getting someone who may or may not be as likely to succeed there, because you're losing a key number, right? You're like, okay, are you going to come here and succeed as a student? I don't know, but I do know you're going to help my numbers. So let's take you.
We'll talk about it in another item or two. There is some evidence that schools actually prefer somebody with like a 170 and a 2.5 over a 169 and a 3.5. And in real life, that makes no sense. There's no possible planet on which, like, oh, really, one more LSAT point is worth more than one whole GPA point?
Which was accrued over 4 years or 5 years or 6 years of hard work. Yeah.
There's no way that makes any sense, but schools do operate in this way. Stay tuned.
Okay.
November scores have dropped. Every time scores are released, we are flooded in both our Discord and our email inboxes with success stories from our students. So here are some emails from viewers, starting with Jesus.
Subject is, thank you. Hi, Ben and Nate. I got my November LSAT back and I scored a 175. I couldn't believe it. For reference, I scored a 156 on the September test. I owe this to a combination of prayer and the demon. Okay. I love your podcast, and I admit it fit the characteristics of the model not to follow.
He says, I fit the characteristics of the model not to follow.
I skipped a key word there. Okay. I admit that I fit the characteristics of the, quote, model not to follow you describe on the podcast. I rushed a bit into this cycle and had everything riding on this test. I am so grateful that it just so happened to work out in my case. Thank you so much for all that you do. Happy Thanksgiving.
Anna says, "Hi, Ben and Nathan. No questions here. Just wanted to reach out and say thank you. I started with a 153 cold diagnostic and studied exclusively with the demon for 6 months. I just received my November LSAT score back and it was 173! Exclamation point. I'm so grateful that my friend recommended LSAT Demon to me back when I knew nothing about the LSAT. Your straightforward, intuitive approach was exactly what I needed to crush this test. Thank you again for everything. Happy holidays." That's Anna. So what are we looking at? 19-point improvement for Jesus. That's a 20-point improvement for Anna.
Okay.
We've got some dispatches here also from Discord.
Yeah, this is the Demon Discord. So once you get a free account, you can go ahead and click on the Discord link and join that discussion. Willow says 172! Exclamation point. One and done! Exclamation point. Higher than any PT! Exclamation point. So grateful.
Nice. People need to realize that that does happen. You know, like you're very unlikely to score 10 points over your highest your highest PT. But scoring 3, 4, 5 points over your highest PT, it does happen sometimes. If you're feeling pretty good about the test generally, and if you're, you know, if your scores that you're looking at are good, like you'd say, oh yeah, I could apply to school with these scores. Take it, and you never know what might happen. You know, like people do surprise. They're louder when they surprise on the downside.
Yeah.
But people do all the time surprise on the upside as well.
Yeah.
You have a wider range than you think you do. There's variance on the upside and on the downside.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you for that.
That just
Willow.
increases their practice test range, right? So now Willow's practice test range includes 172.
True. Yeah, exactly. And if she decided to get greedy and take it again, who knows? But you know, if she knows that like 168 was going to get her where she wants to go at the price she wants to pay, then being one and done with a 172, yeah, high five. See you later.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I guess my only edit here is she says higher than any PT. I would just say my highest PT.
Yeah, that is your highest PT, and that might be the end of your career. Yeah, good point. Okay, so Coda says, oh, Coda just sent a screenshot. LSAT score. Oh, there's the message. I see it. Okay, so it's a screenshot of the official LSAT score 168, but also 148 to 160. Sorry, 149 to 168. We did it like that. With a whole bunch of T's. We did it. So 19-point improvement there for Coda. Nice.
And Brandon has 138 to 166. I could cry right now. I love you all. Cool.
Nice. 28-point improvement there for Brandon.
Yeah, crazy.
Solid.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I used to think it was crazy, but not anymore. We see score improvements like that all the time.
No, it's true. It is, but it's crazy. I guess, what am I trying to say? It's just crazy in how radically different Brandon's options will be. Unrecognizable.
10 points is a life-changing improvement.
It's like going from like a D student to like an A minus.
Hit that improvement, the 28-point improvement.
Yeah.
I mean,
like you're just like a failing student, and then now you're like, you're up there.
10 points takes you from the bottom of the class to the top of the class at most law schools.
Yeah.
28 points does that like 3 different times. You know, it goes from the bottom of the class to the top of the class at a school ranked 150th. Then it takes you from the bottom of the class to the top of the class at a school ranked 50th. Then it takes you from the bottom of the class to the top of the class at a school ranked 20th.
Yeah.
Right? Those were rough numbers.
Yeah.
But 168 is probably the kind of the top of the class at a school that's ranked 20th in the country.
Yeah. Or 166 here, but yeah.
166, sorry. Okay. Some 25th or 30th, whatever. The point remains. This is somebody who was below the bottom of the bottom and is now probably going to get generous scholarship offers at like you'd get scholarship offers at half the schools in the ABA.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about crazy? This next thing is crazy.
Yeah, this is interesting. Okay. So this is an article. I don't know who on the team shared it. Maybe Jacob found it. In it, Derek T. Muller, who is a Notre Dame law professor, published this article earlier this year, and it included a graph of law schools chasing medians around 150 and 160. And the graph is quite telling. What do you see here?
If you're watching our podcast on YouTube, you can see the graph. We'll share that for you. But what I'm seeing is it's a bar chart of the number of schools,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the x-axis is 146 to 170 LSATs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing is there's a big spike at 160 exactly with almost no 159s.
Mm-hmm.
And then a big spike at 150 with almost no 149s.
Yeah, well, for numbers, right? There's one school that has 149 as its median, and there are 11 schools that have 150 as its median.
Yeah, and for 160, there's 16 schools with exactly a 160 median. And then there's only 4 schools with exactly a 159 median.
Yeah.
You know what this does? It makes me prefer the schools that are at. Well, I want to find out. I want the list of schools that are at 159, and I want to know the one school that's at 149. Although that's so bad that it's bad. But the school that's willing to have the 4 schools that are like, no, we're not going to chase a 160 median.
Or maybe they
have
are.
better GPAs.
Oh, they are, but they just can't do it. They're like, no, not again.
That's possible. That's possible. What Professor Muller is saying is that this is one more data point on the potential irrational behavior with respect to admissions practices and LSAT scores.
Mm-hmm.
And that does seem like crazy. That seems wild because student scores are not distributed in that fashion. Student scores, like there's going to be basically the same number of 159s as 161s.
Mm-hmm.
But the schools must be chasing these round number medians.
Yeah, they're willing to settle for a 160 versus a 161 or something like that.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to settle for a 159. But is it irrational? Because when you put out your marketing materials and you say, hey, our median LSAT is 160, you know that lands better than 159.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just that, one would think that like, and if you read the whole article, the thesis of the whole article is like, hey, LSAT doesn't even matter that much in law school rankings anymore. They changed it a couple years ago, right? Where it's like employment outcomes should matter more.
Mm-hmm. But
the schools are operating under the old ways of like, oh no, we can directly manipulate our rank with LSAT and GPA. I think the thing is, I think schools can still manipulate their rank with LSAT and GPA, even if it's not like in the formula for US News. There are downstream benefits, right? But in schools like WashU, where you see the stark square, like one tick below on one tick below on both, it could be like you're out. Whereas if you're one tick above on one and then way below on the other, you can be in. The extreme splitter stuff that we talked about on the last episode of Thinking LSAT.
Yeah.
I can see how that would lead to an interesting school environment. But I do think that the people with 169s, let's say, and 3.9s, I would take a 169 3.9 over a 170 2.9.
For sure.
And I would also take a 169 3.9 over a 4.0 159 or 160 or whatever, right? I mean, the point is, it's obvious. Like there's this like opposite of the sweet spot, or if I was a law school, I would consider it the sweet spot. I would be targeting the schools that WashU isn't targeting, is what I'm saying. Sorry, yes, I would be targeting those students where it's like, oh, good, you're high on both. Great,
Mm-hmm.
fine. I don't care if you lower my medians
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to kick ass. You did great on the LSAT. You did great in undergrad. You're going to be a great lawyer. If I can look 5 years down the line, that's somebody who looks like a more effective, more successful attorney
Mm-hmm.
than somebody who happens to have exactly my median LSAT and then a terrible GPA, or exactly my
Yeah.
median GPA
Yeah.
and a terrible LSAT. Come on. This makes no sense. But they're clearly trying to manipulate the rankings.
Hmm. I wonder if part of the maybe the counter argument here is, this idea of specialization. So someone who comes with these higher numbers on one side but lower on the other, okay, they're a specialist in that domain. Are they going to go out and succeed in the types of jobs that reward that sort of specialty versus the other specialty? But now at WashU, you have both sets and they're both, it's like specialization. You're like, hey, we're not going to send a bunch of clones out. We're going to send some who are going to go succeed in this way and others who are going to succeed in that way.
True. That's true. And I could see it being a an interesting, for sure, environment to go to
Experiment, right?
school.
Like,
Yeah,
let's just
well,
see what
experiment.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Um it just here for reference, we have also the chart of 25th percentile LSAT and the chart of 75th percentile LSAT at all
Much
these same
cleaner.
schools. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just much more like an obvious random bell curve without these like aggressive spikes right on the right on the round numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Um so anyways, that's really interesting. You want to read these announcements?
Yeah. So our next free class is on Monday, December 15th. That's with Demon team member Billy. He'll be teaching the RC Scholars class, or it's his class. He teaches this weekly.
Yep.
It's at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up for that at lsatdemon.com/free. At the same time, oh no, I guess 2 days later, Demon tutor Brandon will be doing an AMA over at our LSAT Demon. That's Wednesday, December 17th from 2 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Drop in and ask him any questions you may have. He'll just pop in and out of there and answer them.
So that's on Reddit at our Reddit channel, LSAT Demon subthread. Great. Next thing up is an email from viewer Maggie who says, why am I a 178 after review, but a 168 timed?
Okay. Since writing back in September, after a month on another platform with no improvement, I've put in 100 plus hours of drilling and practice tests and now usually score in the 167 to 172 range with the occasional 163 outlier. But my post-review scores are dramatically higher, often 176 to 179. So I guess, is this person, Maggie, how are they getting this score?
I think that this is that bad form of blind review where you do the whole test again, essentially.
Yeah, or you do the questions you missed again.
I don't know. It seems almost meaningless to me. So that's why we don't do blind review that way. I mean, blind review in my mind is which ones did you miss? Let's try those again. But the point of a like having a blind review score,
Yeah, is misleading, right?
it's crazy. It means nothing.
Yeah.
So anyways, want to continue reading?
Sure. When I review slowly, I get almost everything right, but under timed conditions, my accuracy drops. Okay, we want to be clear here. Is your raw score dropping or your accuracy or both? Clearly your raw score is dropping, but is your
both
accuracy
is dropping?
Okay.
Keep
Even
reading.
though I have time and a half and usually finish sections. I'm working on slowing down and being okay with not finishing sections, but still tough for me. I'm aiming for 173 plus, hoping to take the February LSAT, but open to pushing to April or even later. But I need to decide if I'm taking February by late December. Okay, my questions. What causes a big gap or the big gap between timed and post-review scores?
In the post-review state, you're not timing yourself at all. So you're taking your time with those questions and you're actually solving them correctly. The only message here is if you would take your time, you could have answered these questions correctly instead of missing them. And like people think, oh, because I have time and a half, I have to finish. No, because you have time and a half, you have to slow down and stop making so many mistakes. You're making too many mistakes, Maggie. That's your problem. It's very obvious. So, yes, you can get them all right if you take your time. You cannot get them all right if you don't take your time. So, take your time and get them all right. Now, that means that you sometimes aren't going to finish a section. Who cares? You're just leaving points on the table. You have to stop just leaving points on the table. I really think that it's the bad form of blind review is leading people to the exact wrong conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
They see this and they're like, well, then why can't I do that when I'm being timed?
Yeah.
And
thus, I must need to learn to go faster.
right. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's the time that's the problem. No, it's the speed that's the problem. Anyway.
Say more about that. It's the speed.
It's how fast you're going is the problem. You're just going so fast to try to race, to try to finish the section on time. And it's clear that you can do these questions, but you just can't do them if you try to force yourself to go fast. So the thing you should be taking away is, I need to slow down. But it's a paradox or an irony that when people, like, that's why the demon doesn't show you, by the way, a blind review score, because they don't want you, like, the takeaway, I think that people like Maggie are trying to, they look at it and they go, oh, okay, so I have no problem with accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
I can do these questions, no problem. I just got to get my timing down. And then they try to work on their timing, which makes them go faster, which makes them miss questions.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a really good blind review score, untimed blind review score, and it's much better than your timed score, really the only takeaway there is, okay, yeah, you need to act as if you're not being timed while you're being timed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. How do I know if I'm ready for February?
Are your timed practice test scores where you want them? That's it. So if you're happy with your timed practice test scores when the February LSAT deadline approaches, you can sign up. You could also do the strategy of, yeah, my scores are pretty much there. Maggie says I'm in the 167 to 172 range. I mean, that's pretty much there for most people.
Yeah, and you have until February. So
and you
3
have
months.
Until February.
Mm-hmm.
So you could always register to give yourself the option to take it in February.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't get any discount for rescheduling after the registration deadline, but you can reschedule or withdraw from the test all the way up to the day of the actual test. So if you say, okay, fine, today's the deadline, I'm looking at a 169 average. I'd really wish that was a 173, but I have 2 months. I'm going to go ahead and register. You're not obligated to take the test in February. You just have to be willing to walk away from the $230 or whatever it is.
Yeah. And the mental commitment that you've subconsciously made to yourself. That can be hard.
Yep.
Any tips for becoming more consistent and turning review level accuracy into test day performance?
I've already said it like 1,000 times. Do you want to say it?
Sure. I'll try to say it in a different way. Focus on getting one question right at a time. You're not doing a test. Yes. What you're doing is 75 or 100 mini tests. And you might not be able to do all of them, but you want to do each one perfectly and then go to the next test. You can't proceed to the next test until you've done your best on the first one.
Yeah. You have to stop managing your time. You have to just do the question that's in front of you. Stop checking the time, stop managing the time, stop trying to make it to the end of the section, because that's, your review level accuracy. You're not managing your time. On the test day, your test day performances, you've been managing your time. And it's that time management that's causing you to then miss the questions. Thanks, Maggie. Next one up, I'll read it. This is from YB, who is talking about meeting with admissions counselors. I was planning on touring my top choice law school during winter break as I'm from out of state, but they said they'll be closed. Instead, they offered me to set up an appointment with their admissions counselor. That's a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Do you recommend that I meet with them? If so, what should I tell them? I haven't yet taken an official test, but I'm 3 points away from hitting their median and hopefully higher. Does meeting with them help my admissions chances? Sincerely, YB. My
No.
gut is saying that this is a complete waste of time.
Yeah, improving your score is going to matter way more than some friendly meeting that you have with them. I mean, if you're savvy, I don't think it can hurt you, but you can get, I don't know, people they're motivated to give you self-interested advice, and if you can't filter out the self-interested advice from the good advice, then you're just not, it could end up hurting you.
I suppose going to the school, and I guess the admissions counselor probably has keys, so they can probably like take you around. Maybe that would be worth asking. Like, will you actually be able to show me the facilities?
Yeah, but what's the goal there?
If this is somebody who's just like going somewhere on a winter break, right? Maybe they're already in New York anyway for winter break, and they want to go check out NYU. And NYU says, "Now we're closed, but you can come meet with our admissions counselor." I can see value in going to the physical property where you are maybe going to spend 3 years of your life if you're already in town anyway. But I certainly wouldn't fly, I wouldn't travel to go do this meeting.
Yeah, what I guess I don't understand. What's the value in seeing where you're going to spend 3 years of your life?
Maybe none until you've actually been admitted.
I'm just worried that people outweigh their perceived happiness based on location
Mm,
versus like cost. Because all schools are essentially the same and you'll get used to wherever you live.
yeah, could be. I mean, I suppose context matters a lot here. You know, for the people who I think physical environment can matter a lot. Buildings can matter. I think that that kind of shit can make a difference
Hmm.
depending on who you are. But yeah, this whole thing doesn't seem ripe yet, right? Like if you're 3 points below their median, you need to worry about getting 3 points above their median so that you can
Yeah.
make the price right at this school.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to help your admissions chances.
Yeah.
This meeting is not going to help your admissions chances.
Yeah.
Or
YB thinks like, oh, if I talk to them, they're going to now be my friend. No, they're just trying to make a sale. To
yeah,
you, to them, you're just another contact.
yeah, and like if you show up looking, I could see it affecting the price that they're going to try to charge you.
Sure.
If you show up with like if you're signaling a lot of wealth,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose if you have a lot of wealth, you might want to signal that wealth because you don't care about the price.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go meet with this person and give them the subtle, like, I'll pay full price at your school.
Yeah.
But I would worry that you might be accidentally sending that same signal when it's actually not true. So it depends on what your goals are, YB. I don't see how this helps you get scholarship. I don't see how this helps you get merit aid. The thing that helps you get merit aid is a higher LSAT. And does it help your chances of squeaking in? I don't know. We're just not about trying to help people squeak in, right? The wrecking ball, the LSAT is the wrecking ball, and you can just do that route instead. I prefer that to this route.
Agreed.
All right. Next question. Ooh, this is interesting. I'm looking at a chart here that shows a random law school that has jumped from 45th in the rankings in 2019 all the way up to 18th in the rankings in 2025.
Hmm.
And I did not realize that this had happened. So it makes me want to ask what's the deal, Ben, with the University of North Carolina Law School?
Yeah, well, that's I'm sure that's a big deal to them, going from 45th to 18th in 7 years. Let's take a look at them. So in
Of course,
2024,
I
yeah.
will say that if you zoom out a little bit, they were ranked 31st in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So they it looks, if you just look at the chart here, it's like, okay, something was going poorly for them, then something started going well for them.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hypothesis.
They have a new dean who's focused on numbers.
Or just a new strategy, right?
Yeah.
We know that schools charge dramatically different amounts for their JDs from year to year. And they do this by discounting
Mm-hmm.
via scholarships. So in 2015, they might have been happy with their position, and they might have been like the broader university was using the law school as an ATM. No, you're not going to give a lot of scholarships. You're going to charge as many people full price as you can, capitalize on this ranked 31st in the country.
Yeah.
We need funds for our other shit. Like, we got to fund our basketball team or whatever.
Yeah.
But then the ranking plummeted because they didn't have as qualified of applicants, right?
They
Maybe their
didn't
LSAT
water the
GPA
garden. Yeah.
median fell, right? It was just nothing but harvesting, yeah, and no
Yeah.
actual like farming. Then some at who knows what happened in 2019, 2020. Of course, a lot of stuff happened in 2019, 2020.
Hmm.
But they all of a sudden potentially started giving scholarships again,
Yeah.
right? Heavy discounting. LSAT and GPA medians go up, and they keep climbing all the way up to 18th in the country if they're still giving away those scholarships. Now, I'm not saying that that's what is happening for sure. I haven't
Hmm.
looked yet,
Yeah.
and I don't know what was happening in 2018, 2019. It would be really interesting, though, to track that data or visualize that data, like percentage scholarships per school compared to their ranking
Mm-hmm.
over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have the ranking data. We just need to correlate that with the funding data.
Mm-hmm.
But so there could be a million other stories, but that's what their ranking would look like if that's what had happened.
Yeah.
That's just one explanation. That's not the only explanation, but that is one explanation. That's my working hypothesis. Let's see.
Yeah. So let's jump to these employment stats. In 2024, there were 210 graduates. 62 of them ended up going to law firms of 251 people or more. So that's
Okay.
30% of their graduates. In 2018, they had 47 graduates in law firms of 251 people or more. That's only 21%. So they went from 21% to 30%, getting into big law. That's not surprising. I mean, big law is going to pay more attention to schools that are more highly ranked. So what's the cause and what's the effect? I don't know which is. I'm sure these things are actually going in both directions. So the better employment statistics are
Mm-hmm.
helping increase their rankings, but also their increased rankings are probably improving their employment statistics. That's how these
Sure.
things go.
Totally. Yeah.
And then it says 12 graduates ended up going to federal clerkships. That's 6%.
So 36% big law or federal clerkship placement
Mm-hmm.
at number 18 in the country, North Carolina. That's lower than I would have guessed.
Yeah, for
For a
18th.
school that's
Mm-hmm.
ranked 18th. And by the way, 18th is just one click outside the top 14.
Yeah.
There's
Might be
17 schools.
counterintuitive. Yeah.
There's a big tie for 14th. So there's 17 schools in the top 14. So North Carolina is like knocking on the door of the
Mm-hmm.
top 14 now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's surprising then that it's only 36% big law and federal clerkship placement.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Hmm.
Location.
Could be. Yeah. All right. So let's keep going. Let's look at their 509 report. So
Okay.
actually, I'm going to go to the estimator.
Yep.
So I'm going to North Carolina. Here we go. Yep. And I see that 3% of their students, 18 students, got stipends. They were paid to go. So that covers not only their tuition and their fees, it also covers additional money. We don't know how much money they were given, but they were paid to go.
Yep.
13 students or 2% were given full tuition and fees exactly. So that's 5% of the class is getting full tuition or more. And then
Yep.
more than half is 307 students or 54%. So now we're at 60%. 60% of the students are getting more than half
And
all the way
to
up
be
to a
clear,
stipend. Yeah.
yeah, the huge chunk of people, what was it again? 54% of the class
Mm.
that are getting offered between half to full tuition
Mm-hmm.
because of the way the ABA lets them define these buckets. And this is bad job by the ABA. They're not creating the transparency that they need to create.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That half to full bucket is way too big. And it can include all the tuition and some of the fees, and you're still calling that half to full tuition.
Yeah, more than half. Yeah. It's not full tuition in theory because you haven't been given both the tuition and the fees, but boy, you might have been given a lot of money.
Right. Full tuition is exactly all of the tuition and exactly all of the fees. So it's unsurprising that there's very few people fall into the full tuition bucket.
Yeah.
But then the half to full tuition bucket is this huge bucket that includes exactly full tuition, but it also includes exactly full tuition plus all the fees minus $1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what that sets up is a situation where, and it would shock me if this wasn't true, it sets up a situation where University of North Carolina is allowed to send 60% of their admitted students letters that say, hey, we're offering you a full tuition scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
while only reporting 5% full tuition scholarships on their 509 report.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I do want to look at the median grant amounts to see if this is actually so median grant amount 17,500 and 75th percentile grant amount 20,000, but resident tuition is only $26,000.
Yeah. Yep.
So those people who are in that half to full bucket, they're getting damn near full ride scholarships.
At least
Which
potentially some of them. Yeah.
not some of them, many of them. Again, if their 75th percentile grant amount's $20,000, then that means 25% of the people getting grants are getting 20,000 or more.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only 5% who are reported as getting full tuition or full tuition plus stipend.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this 20% of the people getting grants, those are grants over $20,000.
Yeah.
And their tuition is under $30,000. So they're getting damn near full scholarships, but they're in this half to full bucket. Which, if you were playing the game and if you didn't want to show how heavily you were discounting, this is something that you might do.
Yeah. So another 34% get less than half, which leaves only 7% of the class paying full tuition.
Rampant discounting.
This is not atypical.
No, it's quite typical. I mean, the median I think it's the mean law school gives discounts to 83% of their class. So this school is giving discounts to 93%, which is more than most schools. But again, we have seen this rapid increase in the rankings, this rapid recent increase in the rankings, which, according to my hypothesis, you can tell whether theories are right when they're able to predict things. And so I'm not saying I'm right, but I am saying I predicted one way that you could climb the rankings like this is just do a shit ton of discounting.
Yeah.
The thing people have to remember,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that people have to remember though is that they can easily shut off that spigot whenever they want.
And then your ranking can go back down.
Right. It doesn't affect the people who do take the scholarships, right? I mean, I guess the prestige of the school falls. If you look at this chart, right? This is a school that had, just on the same chart, you see a decline of 14 points of rankings. And then you see an increase of almost 30 points of the rankings.
Yeah.
Just remember, we can't predict the next. We don't know what they're going to do in the next cycle.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to apply broadly. If North Carolina gives you a great deal and you want to live in North Carolina, then I would consider taking it. Excuse me, taking it. But do not think you're going to forever have the 18th ranked law school in the country on your resume.
Yeah.
Because if they stop the discounting, they could easily be back down to 45 in a matter of just a few years.
Yeah, although on some level I wouldn't care, right? As long as you get your first job and then kick ass there, that's what's going to determine your trajectory. So the law school's benefit to you is really, how can it help you get the best top possible job that you're qualified for?
Assuming you're going to like productively practice law and you're not going to, like firms aren't going to care what school you went to after you've assembled a 5 to 10 year like career already. They're going to be more interested in what you've done than what kind of law school you went to.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't say. Their LSAT medians have risen during this time.
Yeah, they have. So in 2018, it was a median of 161. In 2024, it's a median of 167. It strongly correlates with these high discounts that they're offering to essentially buy people with better scores.
It's something that was predicted by our theory is, they probably went out and chased a bunch of high LSATs, gave a bunch of scholarships. We know they're giving scholarships, and we know their LSAT profile has risen dramatically. Fantastic. We have a chart of medians over time. Those have gone up a lot. Rankings have also gone up.
So I do think this is interesting. So the gap between the median and the 75th percentile is smaller than the gap between the median and the 25th percentile, which isn't surprising.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it seems to reflect this notion that, hey, it's easier to accept people with lower scores and let them pay.
If you're trying to raise your medians, you're competing in a shallower and shallower pond. There's just not as many applicants in there. And so but you still have to keep the lights on, and that's an unbelievably big pond. It just, how deep are you willing to fish in it?
And you might have to fish deeper because you're not offering money. So
to those people,
how low
somebody
are you
has to pay the bill.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the 25th percentile has gone up, though. It's gone up about as much as the median and the 75th percentile has gone up. So they've always had a huge gap between their median and the median and 75th are up here, and then way down below is that 25th. Just, those are the people that I'm worried about.
Yeah. All right. How about private sector salaries?
So private sector salaries, huh? By the way, I have no idea what this really means. Is this first year private sector salaries?
It looks like it, right? Potentially 110 to 160.
And is it, oh, I see the median. That's the median. Okay, so the median, what do we think the median is there? 155?
For what? For now? For right now?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The notes say 160, but
oh, there it is. I see it. Okay, $160,000 median private sector salary. Now, that's of the people who go get a job in the private sector. It includes 100% of the big law people, which is 30% of the class. Right. So those 30% we know are making probably more than the 160.
Yeah.
And then as you get to smaller firms, eventually you hit a median of 160. And then that means half of the private sector people working at mid and small firms solo practitioners or in-house counsel or whatever are making something less than 160.
Yeah.
There you go.
All
And I would
right.
say, I mean, is the placement mostly in the South? Do we have that? Yeah.
Yes, North Carolina.
55%.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. What? Okay. So 115 of the 210 graduates are employed in North Carolina. $160,000 could be a lot of money in North Carolina.
Could be a lot of money. I wonder though how like we don't know. I mean, there's still a huge chunk of the class, 45% that are going elsewhere, 10% to DC, 6% to New York. It may be that these high median salary folks are going outside of North Carolina, right?
We would assume that the 30 something people who went to DC and New York are probably on the upside of that $160,000 median. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's cheaper in the South for sure.
Yeah. All
Word of
right.
the
Word
week.
of the week. Let's do it.
Prolixity. I
Okay.
do not know this word.
Okay.
I have a quote here from the 1819 Supreme Court case McCulloch versus Maryland. This was delivered in the majority opinion of Chief Justice John Marshall. It was a 6-0 decision.
That's funny that you said you don't know this word because I don't know it either, but both of us must have read it in the past.
McCulloch versus Maryland, apparently a big case. I don't remember any. I don't remember jack shit about this. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It has no bearing on my life whatsoever. It has not made me a better citizen or whatever to have these.
Maybe it did. Nate, maybe it did and you just don't know it.
Maybe it made me a worse citizen.
Okay.
In 1916, Congress chartered the Second Bank of the United States. In 1818, the state of Maryland passed legislation to impose taxes on the bank. James McCulloch, whoever that was, refused to pay the tax. Must have been president of the bank. Says, no, we're not doing that. Maryland argued that the Constitution didn't explicitly authorize Congress to create a bank. That's a weird argument for them to make, it feels like. Why wouldn't they just say, you're a bank, we have the ability to tax? Instead, they're questioning the existence of the bank.
Yeah, maybe they made both arguments. Although
Yeah.
I feel like back in that time, states' rights were like such a big deal, right? It was probably just assumed. It's like, hey, you can't do that. Like, you can't do anything unless it's explicitly allowed. That mindset has shifted.
So, Chief Justice Marshall said, a constitution to contain an accurate detail of all the subdivisions of which its great powers will admit would partake of the prolixity of a legal code and could scarcely be embraced by the human mind. It would probably never be understood by the public.
Okay, I understand what he's trying to say.
What's he trying to say?
If you wanted to include explicitly every detail that is granted or every authority or power that is granted to the Constitution in the Constitution, then it would look like a statute. And it would be long and cumbersome, just like the Affordable Care Act or something like that.
Or whatever 1,000 pages of tax code.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
Which would probably never be understood by the public, let alone Congress, right? There was like, wasn't there some debate about those laws being passed without even people reading them? That's what he's saying. So then when I read prolixity of a legal code, I would say it would partake of the prolixity, would partake of the form maybe, or of the style of
I think it's similar to, I'm guessing that what he means here is like, it's something to do with like prolific, like that it would be, that it's like too big. So to contain an accurate detail of all the subdivisions of which its great powers will admit would partake of the prolixity of a legal code. In other words, it would just like expand beyond all possible comprehension.
The enormity of a legal code. Maybe?
Prolixity. Yeah, it feels like something too big. Too big, too complicated.
Okay.
Anyway, in a unanimous opinion, By Chief Justice Marshall, the court held that Congress did have the power to create the bank under the necessary and proper clause. So Marshall saying, hey, of course this wasn't explicitly spelled out, but they have the power to do things. And here, I'm finding their power to do this under the necessary and proper clause of the Constitution.
Yep.
Maryland can't tax it, and that's because states can't interfere with constitutional federal powers. So it's necessary and proper for them to create it. And Maryland, sorry, you can't. Taxing is interfering with this constitutional federal power. Chief Justice Marshall uses Prolixity to argue that the Constitution is not meant to be a hyper-detailed legal code. If it tried to spell out every power, method, and contingency, it would become so wordy and technical that no one could understand it. The Constitution does not need to explicitly list every power Congress has. The definition, though, of prolixity, it's a noun, the state or quality of being unnecessarily or tediously wordy, or a tendency to speak or write at a great or tedious length. So if you can insult someone by saying, as a communicator, this person suffers from terminal prolixity. If they have terminal prolixity, they might also have rampant hyperbole and a preference for bureaucratic jargon. That's what the definition is saying here from dictionary.com.
Okay. Good to know. I want to talk about last week's word. I think it was last week's word.
Oh.
Or it might have been a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember the word propinquity?
Propinquity. Does it just mean propensity?
No, I think it's
or does it mean,
closer to proximity.
Oh, right. Okay.
And there was a case where the agent, the FBI agent, like put somebody in a jail cell.
Oh, right.
And they were going to get like information out of them. And they're like, hey.
It basically just means proximity.
Proximity.
Yes.
So propinquity, I can't say it very well. But anyways, neither of us had heard that word before.
And I still didn't know what it meant.
And I didn't think I'd ever hear it again. But I heard it yesterday while listening to a lecture on psychology and social interaction. And my mind just went bonk, because this happens to me all the time. I look up words that I don't know and I go, that's crazy. I'm never going to hear that word again. I've never heard it in my life. Both of those claims are false. I have probably heard it multiple times, just never recognized it. And I mean, that was within a week. That was within 7 days.
Yes. Yeah. Similar to the thing where when you buy a car, you all of a sudden realize that everybody drives that car.
Yeah. You never seen it before and now it's everywhere. Yeah.
Definitely related.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to catch up on all of our words of the week, and it seems like maybe I should, since I forgot that word that we did two weeks ago, you can go to lsat.link/wow. If you'd like to be LSAT famous, you can ask questions or share news with us on our website, thinkinglsat.com, or on the socials at lsatdemon. Please email help@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. And check out our other podcast, LSAT Demon Daily. That was episode 536 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.